There she was, planted right in the middle of the street like some kind of prophet, holding her clipboard high like it was divine law. Her voice pierced the calm, hurling accusations at the 3 officers on scene. "You're trespassing on community property," she bellowed, not once pausing to ask a question or hear a word. She wasn't interested in the truth, only control. Red-faced and furious, she barked commands as if she were the sheriff in town. But I stood my ground, watching as she tried to bulldoze me with her faux authority. Her threats, her fake violations, her staged neighborhood meetings. She thought they would break me, but she made one mistake. She dialed 911 thinking it would be her final power play. That call, that was the moment she exposed herself. I had been waiting for her to cross that line, and when she did, when she summoned real law enforcement, I knew everything was about to shift. Let me take you back. My name is David Thompson. I'm 32 years old, and I live a quiet life in a modest townhouse at Maplewood Gardens. I work remotely as a software developer. Nothing flashy, just long hours and lots of coding. Then there's Karen Mitchell. She's 36, and for the past 3 years, she's acted like Maplewood Gardens is her personal kingdom. She's not just a resident. Oh no, she's the self-declared enforcer of community excellence. With her bleach blonde hair, that ever-present emerald green jacket, and a clipboard she clutches like a badge, she stalks the sidewalks like she owns them. She dictates everything, from how long a guest can park, to which color roses are HOA approved. It all started when I decided to switch my office space. My upstairs study was too cramped for my dual monitor setup, so I relocated to the front room on the ground floor. More light, better air, and it kept background noise down during client meetings. The next morning, 8 a.m. sharp, there she was. Green blazer on, clipboard loaded. "David, I need to review your business permit," she said without greeting, pointing dramatically at my window. From the street, I can clearly see professional tech equipment. That constitutes a commercial enterprise. I blinked. "Karen, I work from home. I'm a software engineer, not running a server farm." She scoffed. "That much gear in plain sight is disruptive. It doesn't align with the neighborhood vision." I asked her politely to show me the HOA rule I was violating. She smirked. "I'm responsible for interpreting those rules to protect property value. If you don't comply, you'll face consequences." And with a dramatic flourish, she scribbled something on her clipboard. 72 hours, paperwork, or penalties. 3 days later, I came home to an envelope taped to my door. It looked official, complete with the HOA logo and intimidating language. A $200 fine for operating a business that negatively impacts aesthetic harmony. She was escalating. I confronted her again. She met me with that smug HOA persona. "David," she said, crossing her arms, "you had your chance. You're in violation. People walking by can see your setup. It doesn't reflect our values." I asked to speak to the board. "That's internal HOA business," she said with a smile. "Not for residents to worry about." That's when things got darker. Karen launched a smear campaign, carefully veiled emails to the entire neighborhood, warning of possible business activities that may be out of compliance. She never named me directly. She didn't have to. Her email read, "We've received reports of certain units conducting suspicious activities. Please report any signs of commercial operations, including unusual deliveries or technical equipment near windows." The effect was instant. Mrs. Johnson, who used to share banana bread with me, suddenly had a lot of questions about what kind of tech I used. Mr. Peterson, who once chatted with me about fantasy football, now avoided eye contact entirely. Even the maintenance crew seemed wary, like they'd been told I was running an illegal cyber lab. Karen had painted herself as the noble guardian of neighborhood purity, and me as a potential criminal. But the worst wasn't over. The next move she made was the most calculated and the most damning. It was a setup. Flyers had gone out to every mailbox, faux official invites to what Karen dubbed an urgent community integrity session. The date? Tuesday at 7 p.m., strategically timed to ensure maximum attendance. People had barely parked their cars before making their way to the clubhouse. When I walked into the community center, it was packed, wall to wall. Karen stood proudly at a small podium she'd dragged in from storage, wearing her finest green power blazer, like she was hosting a press conference. She had a slideshow queued up on a projector, a stack of glossy handouts, and a laser pointer that made her look like she was briefing the Pentagon. "Welcome, neighbors," she said, with the poise of a career politician. "We have a serious issue threatening the very fabric of Maplewood Gardens." Click. The first slide appeared on the screen, a zoomed-in photo of my downstairs office window taken from the sidewalk. Beneath it, bold red text, "Commercial breach?" Karen swung her laser pointer like a conductor leading an orchestra. This image was captured just last week. It shows a unit that's been covertly converted into a full-scale commercial operation, multiple monitors, pro-level lighting, non-stop activity. She kept going, flashing slide after slide of data from unrelated neighborhoods, showing declining home values due to business creep in residential zones. There were pie charts, bar graphs, trend lines. None of it cited any sources, of course, but it looked official, and that was the point. When we allow homes to turn into tech hubs, she warned, we jeopardize the character of our neighborhood and the investment we've all made. The room went quiet. You could feel the tension rise as she dropped her final slide. A fabricated resolution signed by the HOA board demanding immediate cessation of all commercial activities. She turned to the crowd. If we let this continue, we risk lawsuits, lower home values, and a fractured community. When one resident, Mrs. Rodriguez, asked what exact rule was being broken, Karen simply said, "HOA guidelines are interpreted by the board. They're complex, and it's not something for general residents to worry about." Mr. Garcia asked how a homeowner could appeal such a decision. Karen's reply? "Appeals go through internal channels. Our legal team is handling everything appropriately." As I sat there watching the show unfold, I had to hand it to her. She'd really committed to the role of community protector. She created an entirely fictional legal process, complete with warnings, judgments, and threats, all designed to scare me into silence. But she didn't know who she was dealing with. What she thought was her strongest move, the grand finale, was actually the last step before her collapse. 3 days later, just after sunrise, she was back on my doorstep, this time flanked by a man in an expensive suit. Karen was armed with a leather-bound folder and a smug expression that could curdle milk. "Mr. Thompson," she said in her most authoritative tone, "you have failed to comply with multiple HOA directives. As the acting president, I'm here to serve you with final notice." She handed me a thick packet, printed on faux legal letterhead, that looked like it came straight from a law firm's archives. It was filled with bold text, zoning codes, threats of $5,000 in penalties, legal fees, and, most laughably, eviction. The suited man beside her nodded solemnly, like an actor hired to play a lawyer. I flipped through the packet, pretending to study it carefully. "This is quite thorough," I said calmly. "Just out of curiosity, which law firm drafted this?" They froze. Karen's eyes narrowed. "That's confidential. The HOA has every right to protect sensitive legal work." I smiled. That was all I needed to know. She added, "This is your last chance. Cooperate or face the consequences." As they turned to leave, she couldn't resist one last jab. "I've handled situations like this before," she sneered. "People like you who think they're above the rules, Eventually, they learned the hard way. But what Karen didn't know was that she'd been playing checkers while I'd been building a legal chessboard beneath her.